Here are my final comments. Certainly, I do think you got something here. So I see understanding. So that's the first check. Getting students to understand material and write about their understanding, that's important. So I do see understanding. So that's some. I want to focus on some positive things. I think you're probably at your best when you understand Amelia. So I might consider that woman, I might focus in on that particular woman. Maybe she was the single biggest factor in Iago's destruction. I don't know. But maybe, writing a lot about a little is really called for. So let's look back. I really love the beginning. There were some issues, there's still some issues with your sentence making, that all those 30s being more clear, being more specific. That's really important. Those sentence making skills really still have to sharpen up. Again, I thought you're introducing and presenting and analyzing those IPA skills. They need to still to continue. I got to get you ready for AP next year, and you working with quotations is still a problem. I think you do understand the idea of jealousy, but you're not analyzing that text enough, Rachel. So, got to start analyzing those pieces. That led to a lack of clarity. There's all kinds of 33s. So, developing something, staying on paper longer. And I do think if you focused in on something, my final thought, Rachel, will be this. I think the next step for you is to really focus in on a single idea and really developing that idea as fully as possible. And once you get there, you're going to be ready for AP. All right, Rachel, I do want to see you while you do the self-assessment, okay? We got some work to do. Don't feel bad. This is life. I hope this particular way of having me assess your paper is good. It's sometimes difficult to hear because I know I can be very critical, but I'm really trying to help you. And I know if we work together, we can get there. Okay, Rachel? All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hi, Rachel. This is Mr. Raines talking at you through the computer. And I'm going to go ahead and read your paper in this audio-visual style. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it. I haven't read it yet. And I'll write some stuff on it like that. Okay? So plan on something like that. So let me start by the title, How to Destroy a Man. Oh, God, it's kind of funny in a sick way. How to Destroy a Man. Okay. I think I know where this is going, but it seemed like a comical title, but I know it's not funny, this play. Okay, here we go. Compromise a man's reputation, marry him to a powerful woman, and introduce a man to the feeling of jealousy. That's a really powerful introduction. I like that introduction. That seems like that's how you do it. That is how to destroy a man. Okay. That's a really strong first sentence. I'm not sure if this is a really strong second sentence. So in your self-assessment, how might you make this particular sentence just as powerful as that first one? So that's something to consider. Okay, let's keep going. Iago, a man destroyed by jealousy. A man destroyed by jealousy, deceiving others, and his wife in William Shakespeare's Othello, is angered that Othello chose Cassio as the lieutenant instead of him. Oh, this is a confusing sentence. So, Iago is the subject. Now, that's a bit of I'm going to put a 32, an abrupt transition, because that is how to destroy a man. That's the last piece of your previous sentence. And then look how you move into your next sentence, Iago. That's a very abrupt transition. So I'm going to put 32 there. And then Iago is angered that Othello chose Cassio as the lieutenant instead of him. That's going to be your sentence. But what is all this other stuff here? It's all modifying Iago, a man destroyed by jealousy, deceiving others, and his wife. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. This is going to be a 30, and I think there's some parallel construction problems, 24. So this sentence really needs a lot of help. Okay, so just listen to it. Iago, comma, a man destroyed by jealousy. I have no problem with that. Deceiving others, I think that's where the problem begins. A man destroyed by jealousy. Now continue with the man. A man what? A man deceiving others? A man, and then you have and his wife. Yeah, that's some issues where the sentence making there. So that's something that I want you to think about as you revise or when you do your self-assessment. Let's keep going. Jealous of not obtaining the reputation he thought he deserved. Jealous of not obtaining the reputation he thought he deserved. Iago plans to rid the other characters in his path to get where he wants to be. This is too vague. Okay, so you start off really strong, and now you're hitting into vagueness and some sentence-making problems. Jealous of not obtaining the reputation he thought he deserved. I mean, I have no idea what that even means. So, jealous of not obtaining the reputation. Now, he's jealous of others because they took something of his. That would be jealousy. So, I'm not sure what there's definitely clarity problems and sentence making problems in the following those last two sentences. With this devious plan assembled, which devious plan assembled? You don't really talk about the devious plan. You say he plans to rid the other characters in the path to get where he wants to be. I don't know what characters, by the way. But you don't tell me the plan. What is his actual plan? So part of the issue here, Rachel, is being specific. You have to be very specific to be clear. So that's going to be my tip for you as you revise this piece in your self-assessment. Now let's go to, okay, with this devious plan assembled, he comes close to achieving his goal of obtaining the highest general position. What is that? I'm not sure what you're talking about. But after, he does get the lieutenancy, by the way. But after deceiving others, his wife, Amelia, well, get rid of this comma. His wife, Amelia, tells the truth of his lies, causing him to, there's a period there. I don't know. So that, again, sentence making issues here. Iago's destruction of his causing him to, period. Iago's destruction of his horrid crimes was ruined by his jealousy, lack of reputation. I might just repeat the by his jealousy, by his lack of reputation, comma, and by his betrayal of his wife. Or, okay, by the betrayal of his wife. Okay, I can get rid of that. You really started off well, Rachel. I really enjoyed the first part, and I think it just sort of, you ran into some serious clarity issues and sentence making problems. I mean, I'm right here now with your last sentence, and this is usually the place for the thesis statement, the last sentence of the introduction. It's right here. With this devious plan assembled, he comes close to achieving his goal of obtaining the highest general position. But after deceiving others, his wife Amelia tells the truth of his lies, causing him to, I don't know, Iago's destruction of his horrid crimes. Iago's destruction of his horrid crimes. Yeah, what does that mean? Was ruined by his jealousy, his lack of reputation, and the betrayal of his wife. So I see the 1, 2, 3 here, and I see that's probably going to be the 3 paragraphs in your body, right? That'd be my guess. But I don't even understand what Iago's destruction of his horror crimes, what does that even mean? So you're talking about, you're actually talking about how Iago is destroyed. Iago destroys himself in a sense. Now, how does he destroy himself is the issue. So you got to make clear that you're going to be talking about how he destroys himself, and he does it in this way. His own jealousy destroys himself. This lack of reputation that he has eats away at him, and ultimately his wife does betray him in a sense, and that leads to his destruction. So I just think you got to slow down, be much more careful and specific so you can be clear. So I think clarity of expression I'm going to write down. And again, sentence making skills. You're having some issues there, Rachel. You got to become a better writer of sentences. And I think being really careful, I hope this particular way of assessing you will be helpful, because you're going to hear me go through it, and you're going to hear some of the awkwardness in your sentence making. Okay, so let's continue. I'll try to go faster. To initiate the destruction of a man, do not give him the reputation he thought he deserved. Do not give him let's, for the lack of a better word, a good reputation, period. And then you can get rid of he thought he deserved, because that's really it's really a that clause. It's omitted. A good reputation that he thought he deserved. You can get rid of that and work on the conciseness of your expression. To initiate the destruction of a man, do not give him a good reputation, period. Iago explains his ranking and jealousy of not receiving his desired role when stating, "Christened and heathen must be belied and calmed by debtor and creditor, and I, God bless the mark, his worship's ancient." Now you're having a number of issues here. This has to do with not getting the right context. So 43, and then I don't know to whom you're speaking, so that's again 43, and then there's this quotation integration problem. Who is christened and heathen? So right in here, you still have issues with what I might consider IPA skills that I teach the freshmen. Introduce, present, and analyze your quotations. So you're having problems introducing and presenting the quotation. Introducing would be the 43, and the presentation would be 34. So I definitely want to see you, Rachel, to go over some of this stuff. You've got to be able to handle, working with quotations is so important in academic writing, and you're still getting tricked up a bit. So this is something I want to go over with you, in a one-on-one conference. So for instance, here, we're going to have to work on that, because that's just not right. Iago feels frustrated when he was not chosen to be the lieutenant, when he states believed and calmed. Yeah, there's no context for these words, comparing both he and Cassio to ships. Yeah, I didn't even get that they were even ships here. To whom is he speaking, and why is he speaking it, and how is he feeling? All of this has to come into the quotation. That's why it's not integrated very well. His connection illustrates Cassio blocking Iago from the wind, and therefore preventing Iago from moving forward. So now you're trying to analyze the quotation, which is good, but you haven't set it up in a sense where I'm really understanding what you're saying. So without the context and without the quotation integration, it all leads to 30s. It all leads to lack of clarity. That's the problem here. Okay? Let's move on. Let me read this again. His connection illustrates Cassio blocking Iago from the wind, and therefore preventing Iago from moving forward. What does it mean, blocking Iago from the wind? What does that even mean? Iago is angered. He is not improving in his reputation. Well, he's angered by not being passed over. I think that's what you really need to say. Now, he doesn't like the fact, of course, of being passed over, because he would get, a better reputation if he were second in charge. So I think just here I would just make it more clear about what exactly he's so upset about. He even talks about Othello as his moorship's ancient to express his anger that he's beneath the moor, demonstrating he thinks his position is the lowest ranking commissioned officer. Not that he thinks it is the lowest ranking commissioned officer in the infantry or in the Navy. He doesn't think it is. It just, that's what he is. He's the lowest ranking commissioned officer, and he doesn't like it. The fact is, he thinks he deserves the position. He goes on and on talking about Cassio really doesn't know much, doesn't have the experience that he does. So he's just mad. He's mad because he's passed over. And I think, Rachel, you need to be really clear about that. That's the issue there. Let's keep going. Describing Othello, no comma, as a moorship, no comma there, is a racial slur that demeans, and Othello, I don't think there's an and there, and demeans Othello, and further puts Iago in a worse position. I don't know what this means. Puts Iago in a worse position. I think focusing on his race and ethnicity could be definitely considered a racial slur. I'll give you that one. I don't see how it puts Iago in a worse position. So again, I think it's the lack of clarity that's really tripping you up again. Iago's belittling of Othello and considering himself of a lower ranking, and no comma here, that's a major comma error, 35. You can't split, you have a subject and a verb, and you can't put the comma before the verb. So here it is. Iago's belittling, that's the subject, and considering himself, it's double, and then you have a comma there, so you can't do that. Further, and there's double, you have a compound subject with the and, so it's make. So the subject-verb agreement problem. Make him angry and jealous, he is not in Cassio's position. Certainly he is jealous of Cassio's position. Okay. Leading him to deceive others of his own insecurities. Now, how is he jealous? You got to argue that particular point. So this quotation that you use, Rachel, is not really effective as far as trying to focus on what you really want to focus on, and that's how this good reputation is really a factor in his ultimate demise. So that's really not a very good quotation to use. So you're having a development issue too, 33. So it started off really strong, and that particular paragraph was not strong. Let's go to the next one. Sometimes you work toward, your last body paragraph is going to be your strongest. That's usually how it happens. But I think in this particular paragraph, Rachel, you chose a quotation that you didn't integrate or establish context very well. Therefore, it led to a lot of lack of clarity. And then it didn't really talk about his not having a reputation. So it wasn't effective. Plus, you only had one quotation, so probably you want to develop your thinking with multiple quotations. I mean, I don't know how many quotations you need in a paragraph, but that particular one didn't work, so that's why the paragraph is not effective. Let's keep going. The next step to ruin a man. The thing about this too is he ruins himself, so it's a kind of self-sabotage. He inflicts harm on himself, and I think maybe that's where you needed to go with this particular paper. But okay, the next step to ruin a man is to introduce them. You see you have a man, that's singular, and then you have them, that's plural. So that's going to be a pronoun antecedent problem, so that's going to be a 13. You need him. The next step to ruin a man is to reduce him to the feeling of jealousy. Now, how do you get that? So this is I'm really interested in this sentence. Let's see. This is commitment sentence. Let's see what happens. Iago uses Othello's doubt and the generic idea that women are unfaithful to exploit Othello's vulnerability. The generic idea, this I don't get. It's generic idea that women are unfaithful. I don't quite follow that. When Iago first tells Othello his suspicions about Desdemona's unfaithfulness, he warns Othello, no two there. So because you have that two there, you have a quotation integration problem, 34. You had one in the previous paragraph. Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on. The cuckold lives in bliss, who, certain of his fate, loves not his wronger. But oh, what damned minutes tell o'er who dotes, yet doubts, suspects, yet strongly loves. Great quotation. Yeah, that's a good one. Certainly, this quotation relates well to the commitment sentence. Feelings of jealousy, boom, jealousy. He does warn him, get rid of that too, and you have a quotation integration non-problem, okay? Now, I'm expecting, you could have put a little more context, like what's going on right before he says this, but that's okay. So this particular paragraph, Rachel, is looking better than your previous one. So that's good news. Let's see how you analyze this particular piece. So once you cite the piece, it's time to analyze. Iago uses his credibility, logic, and emotions to persuade Othello that Desdemona is an unfaithful wife and warns him of the dangers of jealousy that Iago suspected Othello would feel once he was told that Desdemona was having an affair with Cassio. Okay, this credibility, logic, and emotions, this has to do with, of course, ethos, logos, and pathos, those different ways of persuading people, right, in the Aristotelian method. So I'm with you there. Good. Let's see how you're setting it up for some analysis. Let's take a look at the next sentence. Iago's use of my lord, good, allows Othello to feel superior to Iago and creating an environment where Othello will listen to Iago's ideas. Fair enough. Good. He's certainly respecting Othello, and I think you're looking to connect the connection to ethos here. Iago describes the monster's eyes as green. Okay, the color anyway. A color that is often associated with jealousy. Yeah, it could be, yeah, in this case it is. Green can be anything. Eyes are related to the soul. That just seemed like a really abrupt transition. You go from a color that is often associated with jealousy, and then you go to eyes. It just felt like an abrupt transition. Let's hear it again. Iago describes the monster's eyes as green, a color that is often associated with jealousy, period. Eyes are also related to the soul. Now, I get eyes because eyes are here and eyes are there, but I'm hoping that when you hear the language, you could begin to see how it may fit or not fit. So it just seemed like an abrupt transition. I'll let you figure that out. They can be related to the soul. That is an idea. The fact that the monster has green eyes provides a comparison between the monster and jealousy. No, it's not a comparison between the monster and jealousy. Jealousy is a monster. That's the metaphor. So, yeah, you got to rethink this, showing that the monster is filled with jealousy. No, the monster is jealousy. Jealousy is a green-eyed monster. That is the metaphor. Now, why is it green? You have that color with jealousy, and it's monstrous. So what about the monster idea? That's where I'm hoping that you pick this up on. Iago uses an M alliteration. Okay, to emphasize the threat and dangers the monster of jealousy has, especially since it's mocking its prey. So mocking, monster, okay. When Iago warns him about jealousy, comma, it's a 20. It's ironic because he was angered. He was not elected as the second lieutenant. Yeah, that's where you're going to get a 30. You're sort of getting off topic now. Stay focused on this particular quotation. But now you're moving away from it. Iago is similar to the monster because he is playing with his victims. I don't mind that. Iago is a monster. I get that. Othello and Cassio, I don't know why you don't need a colon there, you just need a comma. Yet he is also comparable to the meat because jealousy is causing him to continue with his plans and die. Yeah, I have no idea what this means. I have to read that again, in fact. Iago is similar to the monster because he's playing with his victims, Othello and Cassio, yet he is also comparable to the meat because jealousy is causing him to continue with... Yeah, I have no idea what you mean here. How is he the meat? I don't get it. Iago also messes with, I'm not sure about that diction. Othello's doubt when comparing a man who knows his wife is cheating on him to blissfulness, but when the man is suspicious of his wife, he lives damned in minutes. The quotation goes outside. This is ironic because Iago's plan was perfect until his wife immediately betrayed him. I don't get that either. Yeah, you're having trouble here analyzing what you're cited there. So this paragraph is better than the previous one. Okay, it's more focused than the previous one and it's more clear. But then as you analyze the quotation, I was left with a lot of doubt. So you're having still some trouble. Now here's what I would imagine. That this last paragraph might be your best. Because very often, Rachel, when you write a paper, you write your way to an understanding. Right now, you're still not really clear about your own idea. And it's really apparent because your writing lacks the kind of clarity. So when you're not clear, your writings are going to be unclear. You can't fake clarity. So you're having some issues there. Now let's see if you end this paper with a strong paragraph here. Let's look at this one. To completely destroy a man, marry them. See, that was singular, and that's plural. Remember we saw that before? It's going to be a 13. To completely destroy a man, marry them to a brave wife. Okay. Not sure how that... so you're suggesting that the wife will... A brave woman will destroy a guy. Well, a bad guy, certainly. Okay. After learning Iago was lying to Othello, Emilia speaks out to protect her mistress, Desdemona, and goes against her husband's wishes. Probably a little more context, 43. But I'm with you here. Emilia, when explaining... You hear how that sounds funny? Emilia what? Emilia, comma, when explaining what really occurred, comma, confesses. There it is, subject, and there's your verb. So you need commas here. That's a 10 in the Kazort-Raines marking system. Emilia confesses, I found by fortune, and confesses to whom? To whom? So you still have... I would say an integration problem, 34, and more context to establish, 43. So you're still not really comfortable working with quotations. And now because you're a junior, second semester junior, these issues really need to be handled. So Rachel, I'm going to definitely call for you and I sitting down and really working on your skills. I got to get you better for next year's AP class. So that's going to be really important for this fourth quarter. I found by fortune and did give my husband, for often with solemn earnestness, he begged me to steal it. Steal what? So, again, you have to set up the context about what happened with that handkerchief, because steal it. What is it? Amelia's truthful account the story. You hear that? Amelia's truthful account of the story, maybe? And you have a comma there, again, 35. Truthful account, verb, comma in front, oops, allows the other characters to turn on Iago, a man who was once considered honest. Yeah, there's your great irony. The word honest and honesty appears countless times in this play, many of them dealing with Iago, but we know he's full of it. He's one of the most dishonest villains you'd ever want to meet. So I understand that. When Amelia contradicts Iago's story, she is also defying the common standards for women. The characteristics of a woman were docile and quiet, but Amelia's outburst goes against ideal standards of a perfect woman. If it wasn't for her, Iago's reputation and goal of changing into an officer with reputation would have gone through. What? If it wasn't for her, Iago's reputation and goal of changing into an officer with reputation would have gone. I have no idea what you mean here. What textual evidence do you have to support this idea? It would be ultimately. I mean, the problem is you don't have much textual evidence in your paper, Rachel, and the reading of the textual evidence is problematic. So you got to start working on this. After learning the reality of Iago's actions, Othello stabs Iago and eventually dies with only a negative conception of him. Iago's wife, who defied the standards of women, was a scenario. Well, she wasn't a scenario, but certainly he thought she would protect him, and she doesn't at the very end. She protects the truth. I mean, I got a feeling, I think your best paragraph might be this paragraph. I think you understand the relationship between Amelia and Iago. The best part of your paper might be this. Your understanding might be the best here, Rachel, but you still have a lot of work to do as far as 33, and maybe just focusing on Amelia in this paper. I think you were all over the place as far as trying to think about how Iago was destroyed, and I think your paper got too big. I want to write too big. Remember, write a lot about little is the old Rainesian motto on paper writing. So various issues here to work with. I think here, that would be your last paragraph. I think so. I was predicting that this paragraph was going to be your strongest one. It may be the strongest one because you may have your best understanding here, but you don't really focus in on analyzing this quotation to great effect. So it's another paragraph that doesn't work, unfortunately. Let's end this with the last paragraph. Let me see how you're going to conclude here. Let's have some pink. Iago's destruction, and it's due partly to himself too. But I wonder. I guess what I'm wondering now is I don't know how I got. I'm not going to be able to get rid of that. Oops! I put a highlighter in there instead. Let's go with this. I am thinking about the paper topic ultimately, but let me read the final paragraph and then I'll make some concluding remarks. Iago's destruction started when he was denied the opportunity as a second lieutenant to Othello. He was passed over. And he gets mad. So his anger and his vengeance is really it. He's vengeful. It's sort of a revenge tragedy. He wants to get revenge. I think you need to say that. Iago was upset that he was not guaranteed a higher reputation. I don't even think it's about the reputation. I just think he wanted this position. He was passed over. He believes he's a better guy than Cassio. He's got the experience. Cassio has the book knowledge. I don't even think he's after reputation so much. If he is after the reputation, Rachel, then you have to focus in on it. I mean, Cassio was all about the reputation. Go back and take a look. Cassio was so forlorn because he lost his reputation. And then Iago actually dismisses reputation. That's something that, that could be conjured. So I'm not even sure if this is even right. So I want you to rethink that. Othello's, okay, so Iago was upset that he was not guaranteed a higher reputation and even considered himself the lowest ranking commissioned officer in the infantry. He is the lowest, not even, again, you said it earlier, even considered himself. He is the lowest ranking officer. So I get that. He does want more prestige. I get that. But as far as his idea, I want a higher reputation. I want people to think of me like this. He doesn't really say that. Or unless, you got to produce the textual evidence. That's the key. Othello's race made Iago furious because the color of Othello's dark skin was considered inferior to Iago's light skin. Yet Iago's position in the military was lower than Othello's. He didn't have any problem with his dark skin if he were to get this position, however. But you're right, as far as when he gets vengeful, he does really focus on skin color. And he was able to use this skin color against Othello as he pitted Othello against Cassio. Jealous of Cassio's lieutenancy. I don't even think he's jealous of that. I think you have to learn the difference between envious and jealousy and jealous. That would be one of my tips for you. Look up envious, look up jealous. They're not really the same. You're jealous of someone if they're going to take something away from you. You're envious of somebody who has stuff that you would like. So that there's a difference. And if you're jealous, there's probably an issue of self-esteem. You don't really love yourself too much. So I do think you do need to understand these terms, Rachel, a little bit more deeply. Let's end this. Iago deceives everyone into believing he was trustworthy. Yeah, it's pretty much true. But his plans were foiled by his own wife. Iago was destroyed by jealousy, reputation, and a brave woman. Yeah, I think, and I get that. There are certainly, I'm going to end this paper now. Here are my final comments. Certainly, I do think you got something here. So I see understanding. So that's the first check. Getting students to understand material and write about their understanding, that's important. So I do see understanding. So that's something I want to focus on, some positive things. I think you're probably at your best when you understand Amelia. So I might consider that woman, I might focus in on that particular woman. Maybe she was the single biggest factor in Iago's destruction. I don't know. But maybe, writing a lot about a little is really called for. So let's look back. I really love the beginning. There were some issues, there's still some issues with your sentence making, that all those 30s being more clear, being more specific, that's really important. Those sentence making skills really still have to sharpen up. Again, I thought your introducing and presenting and analyzing, those IPA skills, they need to still to continue. I got to get you ready for AP next year, and you working with quotations is still a problem. I think you do understand the idea of jealousy, but you're not analyzing that text enough, Rachel. So got to start analyzing those pieces. That led to a lack of clarity. There's all kinds of 33s. So developing something, staying on paper longer. And I do think if you focused in on something, my final thought, Rachel, will be this. I think the next step for you is to really focus in on a single idea and really developing that idea as fully as possible. And once you get there, you're going to be ready for AP. All right, Rachel, I do want to see you while you do the self-assessment, okay? We got some work to do. Don't feel bad. This is life. I hope this particular way of having me assess your paper is good. It's sometimes difficult to hear because I know I can be very critical, but I'm really trying to help you. And I know if we work together, we can get there. Okay, Rachel? All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.